When heaven marks a woman, no weapon on earth or in hell can unmark her. When the hand of God rests upon her life, storms may rage, voices may rise, critics may gather, but she stands, not by her own strength, but by the divine covering that surrounds her. A chosen woman is not ordinary. She is not random. She is not an afterthought. She is the manifestation of God's intentional plan in motion. A chosen woman is separated before she is celebrated. That separation is never glamorous, never easy, never what the human heart craves, yet it is always what the divine will requires. Before the crown, there is always the crushing. Before the recognition, there is the rejection. Before the arrival, there is the wilderness. Separation is the signature of heaven upon a destiny that is too weighty to be casual, too holy to be mishandled, too important to be rushed. When you feel isolated, when you feel overlooked, when you feel like your name is never called and your hand is never chosen, it does not mean you are forgotten. It means you are being hidden. And sometimes hiddenness is the greatest form of protection. The seed that is planted beneath the soil does not look glorious, but it carries the potential of forests. You may be buried, but you are not dead. You may be unseen, but you are not unvalued. You may be alone, but you are not abandoned. The oil does not flow on just anyone. The oil finds the one God has chosen. But notice, the anointing is always preceded by obscurity. David was left out in the fields, tending sheep while others stood in line. Esther was an orphan, unknown in a foreign land, before the palace doors swung open. Mary was a young virgin in Nazareth, a town people did not esteem, before the angel declared her blessed among women. Every chosen woman must endure a season where it looks like life has passed her by, where it looks like her name is not on the list, where it looks like others are soaring while she is still waiting. But that season is not punishment, it is preparation. The weight of calling requires the foundation of character. The magnitude of destiny demands the solitude of development. In separation, God is stripping away what cannot travel into your next dimension. He is removing attachments that would weaken you, breaking ties that would bind you, shutting doors that would distract you. You think you are being left behind, but really you are being set apart. You think you are being diminished, but really you are being distinguished. The process of separation feels like subtraction, but it is divine multiplication in disguise. For when the time comes and heaven's calendar turns to your name, the same people who dismissed you will witness your unveiling. And it will be undeniable that only God could have orchestrated the elevation. But the challenge of separation is the silence. You cry and nobody hears. You labor and nobody notices. You pour out and nobody thanks you. That silence is painful, yet it is sacred. It is in the silence that you discover that your value is not tied to applause. It is in the silence that you learn to hear the still small voice that says you are chosen, you are beloved, you are called. It is in the silence that your identity is secured, not by likes or recognition, but by the unshakable truth that heaven has marked you. Do not despise the days of small beginnings. Do not curse the seasons when you are hidden. Do not resent the wilderness, for it is there that strength is forged. It is there that resilience is birthed. It is there that faith is purified. And when the stage is set and the curtain rises, you will step into the fullness of who you are without the weight of insecurity, because separation taught you who you were before celebration tried to define you. The woman who is chosen must learn that the process is not punishment, it is protection. God shields what he values. He covers what he treasures. If he has hidden you, it is because the oil upon your life is too precious to be wasted in premature exposure. Your separation is proof that heaven has already written your name into a story bigger than what you can see. When the oil begins to flow, when the celebration begins to rise, it will not be because people voted for you or applauded you. It will be because God already marked you long before anyone else knew your name. A chosen woman carries a weight that others cannot understand. The evidence of her calling is not in how easy her life is, but in how heavy it feels. The adversities that surround her, the challenges that rise against her, the burdens that press upon her shoulders are not signs of weakness. They are proof of assignment. The weight is not random, it is strategic. There is something inside her that demands resistance, for nothing valuable comes without pressure. Diamonds are born under weight. Pearls are formed under irritation. Gold is purified under fire. So when a chosen woman feels the crushing, it is not because she is forgotten, but because she is carrying a destiny that requires endurance. The battles she faces are not ordinary battles. Others may walk away with ease, but she cannot escape the struggle. Others may shrug off what leaves her sleepless, because what she carries is not what they carry. The child within her spirit is too great to allow comfort. The vision inside her is too demanding to allow ease. She is stretched, she is pressed, she is tested because the vessel she is becoming must be strong enough to hold what God has placed within. You cannot give birth to nations with the strength of a girl. You must be forged into the resilience of a woman who knows how to carry weight without breaking. The chosen woman will often be misunderstood. People will look at her life and think she is overreacting, think she is too intense, think she is too emotional, but they don't understand that the weight she carries is invisible. She walks into a room and still smiles, yet her soul is wrestling with battles no one sees. She performs her duties, raises her children, builds her home, works her job, all while carrying dreams and promises that have not yet come to pass. The heaviness is not always in her hands, sometimes it is in her heart. And that heart touch is not weakness. It is evidence of the greatness she is pregnant with. Attacks come not because she is empty, but because she is full. The enemy never fights what has no future. He never wages war against what has no threat. The intensity of her battles is the clearest confirmation that she is dangerous to darkness. That is why betrayal has cut her deeper than most. Why loss has visited her home, why the storms have come one after another. The adversary is attempting to break the vessel so the oil cannot flow. But what he does not realize is that pressure only proves the value of the jar. If the fight is great, the future must be greater. If the attack is relentless, the assignment must be unstoppable. And so she learns to carry what others cannot. She learns to walk with weights that would crush another person. She learns to pray with tears streaming, worship with heart breaking, believe when evidence is against her. The weight does not destroy her, it defines her. It teaches her strength she didn't know she had, resilience she didn't believe she carried, power she had never tapped into. Her back bends but does not break. Her voice trembles but does not fall silent. Her hands shake but do not let go. She is chosen, and the proof is the weight that rests upon her life. This weight is both a burden and a blessing. It is heavy, but it is holy. It is crushing, but it is consecrating. It isolates her from those who cannot understand, yet it connects her more deeply to the one who does. The chosen woman must learn that not everyone can comprehend her journey, not everyone can support her load, not everyone can affirm her calling. Some people will misinterpret her struggle as failure, when in reality, it is formation. She is being shaped by pressure, molded by conflict, built by adversity. The weight is not her enemy, it is her escort to destiny. When she feels like it is too much, when her knees buckle under the strain, she must remember that she was not chosen because she was weak, but because she was strong enough to endure, strong enough to carry what others dropped, strong enough to birth what others aborted, strong enough to push through what others quit under. The chosen woman carries a weight that is misunderstood, but that weight is the very evidence that she is carrying greatness inside of her. A chosen woman is preserved through divine protection. There are moments in her life where she looks back and wonders how she made it through, how she survived what should have destroyed her, how she walked out of battles that were meant to bury her. She does not stand because she was the strongest. She stands because she was shielded, hidden in plain sight, surrounded by unseen armies, covered by hands that no weapon could penetrate. There were traps laid out for her, but her feet never stumbled into them. There were words spoken against her, but they never carried the power to define her. There were arrows shot in the dark, but they could not pierce her destiny because a covering greater than her enemies surrounded her. Every chosen woman can recall nights when the pressure was too heavy, when the betrayal was too sharp, when the disappointment was too deep, and yet somehow she woke up the next morning with breath in her lungs. That breath was proof of preservation. It was not luck, it was not chance, it was not coincidence, it was protection. While she cried, heaven fought. While she doubted, angels warred. While she slept, God stood guard. There are battles she doesn't even know she survived because the divine hand intercepted them before they ever reached her. She only sees the storms that broke against her life, not the thousands that were silenced before they ever began. The chosen woman must realize that her survival is supernatural. People around her may have gone through similar circumstances and never recovered. Others faced storms of betrayal and never trusted again. Others endured loss and never regained their strength. Others carried pain and never found their way back to joy. Yet here she is, scarred but standing, wounded but walking, pressed but not crushed. Her resilience is not her own doing. It is the proof of a hedge that could not be penetrated. The reason she is still here is because heaven decreed she could not be touched beyond her limit. Divine protection does not mean the absence of battles. It means the outcome is already secured. She will feel the heat of the fire, but it will not consume her. She will hear the roar of the lions, but their mouths will remain shut. She will see the floods rise, but they will not drown her. The chosen woman learns that protection does not always mean exemption. Sometimes it means preservation in the midst of chaos. She still walked through the valley, but she did not die there. She still faced enemies, but she ate at a table prepared in their presence. She still felt pain, but she was never destroyed. There were people who thought she would not recover, who believed she would stay broken, who assumed she would never rise again. They saw her at her lowest and thought the story was over, but what they did not see was the shield over her life. They did not recognize that her name had been spoken in heaven, that her destiny had been secured before time began. She was covered before she was even conceived, chosen before she was ever challenged, preserved before she ever faced persecution. No amount of opposition could overturn the decree of God that said she would live and not die, rise and not fall, overcome and not be overtaken. Divine protection is also strategic. Sometimes rejection was not cruelty, it was covering. Sometimes the door that slammed shut was not punishment, it was preservation. Sometimes the relationship that ended was not betrayal, it was protection from what she could not see. The chosen woman must understand that protection does not always feel like favor. Sometimes it feels like loss. Yet the very things she cried over were the same things that shielded her from greater harm. God kept her from what she thought she wanted to preserve her for what she truly needed. This protection is not temporary, it is covenant. It does not expire when circumstances shift. It does not fade when enemies multiply. It does not disappear when storms intensify. The same hand that kept her yesterday is the hand that surrounds her today, and it is the same hand that will carry her tomorrow. The chosen woman is not preserved because she avoids battles. She is preserved because no battle can override the authority of the one who called her. She is not still standing because she never fell. She is still standing because when she fell, she was lifted. She is not still moving because the road was smooth. She is still moving because her steps were ordered and her path was guarded. A chosen woman is elevated by grace, not by the applause of men. When the hand of heaven is on her life, no committee can decide her worth. No panel can determine her future. And no critic can cancel her destiny. Elevation does not come because people voted for her. It comes because God spoke over her. Grace lifts her to places where qualifications cannot take her, where credentials are not enough, and where connections fall short. The chosen woman learns that she does not need to chase validation from people who cannot comprehend the depth of her assignment. She does not have to bend to opinions or shrink to fit expectations. She knows that the same God who called her will be the one to carry her. There are moments when she will feel overlooked, moments when her efforts go unnoticed, moments when others seem to rise ahead of her, while she remains in the shadows. In those moments, she must remember that her elevation is not in the hands of people. The same voices that cheer today can jeer tomorrow. The same crowd that praises in one season can reject in the next. Human applause is fleeting, but divine grace is eternal. A chosen woman learns to live for an audience of one, trusting that when the time is right, her season will arrive, and no man, no system, no obstacle will be able to delay it. Grace does not wait for approval, it overrides resistance. Think of the doors that swung open when she was unqualified. Think of the opportunities that came when she was underprepared. Think of the platforms she was invited to stand on when she had no earthly reason to be there. That is grace. Grace makes room where there should have been no room. Grace rewrites the resume. Grace takes a nobody and positions her in the presence of kings. Grace makes the last become first and the forgotten become favored. She does not rise by manipulation, she rises by miracle. The chosen woman must understand that when grace lifts her, she will face opposition from those who cannot fathom why she has been favored. They will ask, why her? They will whisper, she doesn't deserve it. They will criticize, she isn't ready. But grace does not need permission. Grace does not explain itself. Grace does not argue with critics. Grace simply elevates. While others talk, grace works. While others doubt, grace delivers. While others resist, grace releases. Her role is not to convince them. Her role is to keep walking in the path grace has made for her. Elevation by grace also demands humility. Because she knows it was not her strength, she cannot boast. Because she knows it was not her wisdom, she cannot take credit. Because she knows it was not her connections, she cannot be prideful. The higher she goes, the more she bows. The more she is lifted, the more she remembers the days she was low. The more she is seen, the more she gives honor to the unseen hand that carried her there. Grace does not just elevate her position, it cultivates her posture. She learns to rise without arrogance and to shine without forgetting who gave her the light. A chosen woman elevated by grace also understands timing. Grace has its own clock, its own rhythm, its own unfolding. She may try to rush the process, But grace will not allow her to arrive prematurely. She may feel delayed, but the delay is only divine preparation. At the right moment, in the fullness of time, grace will lift her. And when it happens, it will be undeniable that it was not man, not luck, not chance, but the sovereign hand of God. No one will be able to take the credit because no one else could have orchestrated it. This kind of elevation is not fragile, it is fortified. It cannot be toppled by gossip. It cannot be undone by jealousy. It cannot be sabotaged by betrayal. What grace establishes, no enemy can uproot. When she stands in the place grace has positioned her, she does not stand on shaky ground. She stands on solid promise. And even when the storms come, her elevation is sustained not because of her strength, but because of the one who lifted her. That is why she does not need to chase applause, because applause is unstable. She does not need to beg for recognition, because recognition is temporary. She rests in grace, for grace is unshakable, unchanging,